This is Mr. Pentland, Head of Sixth Form at Thirsk School and Sixth Form College, and this narrated PowerPoint is available to students and to parents to support the application process for 2021. And while we're in lockdown, I hope this gives you additional structure through that process, gives you some avenues to do some more research to help you make those important decisions to get you into the college in September 2021. The aims of the PowerPoint are there for you to see, and we'll work our way through that now. Just before we start that, I would want to highlight something which is a personal frustration, I suppose, which sometimes we lose students because they want something different. They want to go somewhere new. And ultimately, if you speak to the students in the sixth form right now, what they will say is that the sixth form is very different. It is that newness, that freshness that they wanted. And for some students not to see that, it really does frustrate me. There's some ideas of how the sixth form is very different, but the whole atmosphere in the common room, through studies, through the social events, through the rules that they have to follow, is completely different. Main school is what main school has to be, and in the sixth form we've got that ability to be much more flexible, to personalise the learning so much more, and for students to have a fresh start. Whether that be from a behaviour point of view, whether it be from an academic point of view or a career point of view, the sixth form is that different thing that so many of our students are looking for. And if you don't trust my voice on this, please speak to any of our current sixth formers and they will tell you just how different, and they would say, I hope, better than main school the rules are in sixth form for them at this age. A reminder of the option blocks that have been released for 2021. They appear a couple of times in this PowerPoint. Remember, you should be choosing 3 subjects. From there, maybe 4. I'll come back to that later on. And it can only be from 1 from each option block. So if you chose biology from option block B, that means you cannot do English literature, English language, IT, or physics, I'm afraid. One further addition to this is health and social care. If you choose health and social care, a double, that means you've chosen that in option block A, you've automatically chosen health and social care single from option block C. You can't do healthcare double by itself. If you do healthcare double, it does mean French history, chemistry, philosophy, German, and art would not be available to you because you have to do that double option. I hope that makes sense. There's a range of routes through this, and those A levels that are there are the traditional route, if you like, the level 3 A levels that are available, and we have 2 or 3 vocational routes. These are Cambridge National courses. This is and BTECs, of course. BTEC Performing Arts for the first time in a while. We've got healthcare and ICT, both of which are Cambridge Nationals. That means they're vocational. That means there's a coursework element to them. And although exams are part of it, the exams are not as big a part of it as they are for the more traditional A levels. What's not in those option blocks is the bridge course. And the bridge course is an opportunity, which I'll mention later on, for you to strengthen your GCSE portfolio, to maybe redo your English and maths, to add a few more GCSE qualifications to your portfolio, maybe to gain a bit more academic confidence before you move on. That's not part of those option blocks. It's a separate bit, and I'll mention it later on. But these are not 3 separate routes. You could do a vocational ICT course alongside your A-level history. You could do a resit in your maths and be doing A-level English language. There is blurred lines, if you like, between these. You don't just have to stick to one particular route. Having said that, the bridge course is pretty much linear in that you do your GCSE strengthening, and if your aim is to do that, you're almost certainly not in a position to start picking up A levels. Students need to choose the subjects that are right for them, and there's some advice on that later on, but you also need to make sure it's a balance between sort of aspiration and reality. We would expect students doing those level 3 courses to gain 5 level 5 grades, including a 5 in the subject chosen. For example, if you wanted to do philosophy and ethics, then you should be aiming for at least a level 5 in RS at your GCSE level. Some subjects have slightly higher entry grades, maths and further maths, as you can see, and other subjects do not need the GCSE equivalent to move on. So things like business studies, art, immediately spring to mind, health and social care, psychology, obviously. I'm sure there are others, please just ask, but you don't necessarily need to have done the GCSE equivalent before taking that level 3 course. Bridge, of course, has no entry requirements. This is where maybe the GCSE scores are not quite as strong as you wanted, maybe nowhere near getting those level 5s to move on to A levels at this stage, and therefore you want to strengthen that GCSE portfolio. But a massive part of it, the best part of the Bridge course, is that work experience. Again, I'll come on to that very shortly. It is that balance between aspiration and reality, and those mock exams back in November are a good, important indicator of course suitability. But again, as I say later on, be in touch with those heads of department, speak to them via email, and start to get a picture as to whether this is a possibility for you next year. So here is the Bridge programme. We've got 5 GCSE equivalents which are built mainly around the maths and English resit opportunities. If you've got less than a level 4 in English or maths, then it is compulsory. Whatever you do, wherever you go, you have to resit that. And that's for good reasons. They're such a cornerstone of your academic evidence, if you like, that you just have to redo those. Alongside that, there is some flexibility, but there are 3 other GCSE equivalent options, as you can see in the application form. No entry requirements, but work experience will make or break this Bridge programme. For the students who have been most successful on the Bridge programme, alongside their GCSE equivalents, they've done some fantastic work experience in something that's very relevant to them. And that means 1 day a week, typically. It can be more or less at parental choice, but fundamentally 1 day a week, they're going to go out into our community to do the work on cars, if that's your interest, catering, if that's your interest, with youngsters, if that's your interest. And it just makes the whole experience, because the students see why they're doing the Bridge programme. And if they choose a really good work experience, everything in the college all fits together really well, and we will help the students get those placements. But obviously, if you've got links to that directly, it makes sense for you to use that link to get an even better experience potentially. In terms of which subjects the students should choose, that's such a difficult question in some ways. The cornerstone bits, the more obvious reasons are in front of you, but there's a raft of difficult choices for some students, I know. You should enjoy the subject first and foremost. It's really hard over 2 years if you're going to step up to the academic challenge that awaits you to try and do a subject you fundamentally dislike. So I would start off with the subject that you enjoy, and clearly links to your career plan. If you want to be a vet, biology and chemistry is going to be pivotal. Without that, you are not going to be a vet. Have a research, and again, I'll offer some advice later on about what career you might want to do and what the prerequisite courses are for that. You also need to be very good at these subjects. And if you feel you're weak at GCSE, that is not a good sign for what you're about to step up and do over 2 years at level 3. For some students, if you're not sure what your pathway is, try and put some breadth into your application. Try and put a science with the arts. Try and mix things up a little bit. Go back to that first bullet point, subjects that you really enjoy. That breadth will give you more options later on even. There is the opposite to that. which is if you're extraordinarily good at essay subjects, then put all your eggs in one basket. Go with history, go with English, go with philosophy and ethics, and maximize those skill sets. And there's two opposite bits of advice there. I do appreciate that, but fundamentally, it's up to the individual, it's up to the family to make that call. And typically, it should be 3 subjects that you choose. Sometimes we have students that choose 4 for 2 different reasons, actually. If academically they are one of the best, the top 10% maybe in the year group, doing 4 and selling your quality through success in all 4 is what some of our students do, typically about 3 or 4 each year. Or if you're not sure, you can start with 4 subjects with a plan to drop one over the first 6 weeks of your course. Now, the strengths and weaknesses of that, because if you're sharing out your effort across all 4, that actually makes the start of sixth form a little tougher. And it also puts pressure maybe on the subject staff that if they start with a topic that's not the forte of the student, they might end up dropping that, whereas actually in the long run, that subject really was for them, and it was just the order of the topics that caused the subject choice. So it's a difficult one. Typically 3, but maybe you want to consider 4. Please don't make your choice because your friends are doing it or your friends are not doing it, so you won't either. That's really not a smart choice. And also don't bet on which member of staff's going to teach it. Your subject choice should be more important than whether you get on with or don't with a particular member of staff, or whether you get on with or don't get on with your friends are likely to be in that group. Fundamentally, your subject choice should be very personal and just down to you and what you want to do next. How to apply is really straightforward. The application form is on the school website, and you just email it to the sixth form admin address, which is there, and then we will be in touch for an interview after the application deadline, and the timetable of those events is coming up shortly. I would like to sort of advertise why students choose the sixth form and why it is as successful as it is. I appreciate I am head of sixth form there, and that I'm going to be biased potentially in your view. But go and speak to the current students. If you know any of the current year 12s or 13s, they will be able to tell you what the sixth form is like. Ultimately, of course, for those students, their experience over the last year with COVID has really limited some of the events that we like to do at the sixth form, and therefore they have a slightly different view than is typical of our sixth form because of all the extra events that we've had to cancel, sadly, over the last year. What we are good at is pastoral care. We know the students so well. All of the teachers will have taught these students over the last few years. They know their ability, they know their strengths and weaknesses, and they're able to push those youngsters to really good grades. We've got a raft of built-in links to external agencies for additional care, support, structure, advice, online learning, etc. And we use those really effectively. All of the staff that teach sixth form at our school are experienced, committed staff, most of whom have been in the school for quite a few years, and we know the quality that they provide. We're not bringing in teachers to simply cover a particular subject in a little bit of a temporary contract. It's all permanent and it's all from experienced staff. Students move on to success. From the end of year 13, what they move on to, again, is established track record of success, which goes from as diverse as getting students into Oxford or Cambridge regularly, and into those Russell Group universities at the top end of the academic journey, if you like, through to success on apprenticeships in things like farriership. And in terms of the police, we've had a couple of great successes of that recently. Employment locally, traveling. There's been a range of different successes, and the students have a great time making that decision over the 2 years. And last but not least, Thirsk is very close to where most of our youngsters live, and the travel times and cost is significantly less than some of our competitors, and that is definitely worth bearing in mind. Many times we pick up students in September after they've tried some other locations, and they realize that they are well looked after at Thirsk. They don't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they don't have to spend an arm and a leg trying to get to these venues. Travel times and travel cost is something to bear in mind. I would also advertise the additional activities that we do in the sixth form. These are opportunities that go beyond the high quality lessons and learning and results and career development that are there. This is the extra stuff, from the social events of the freshers and leavers balls, the charity fundraising that we do, a very strong sixth form council with a very real role and a very real voice. The Gold Duke of Edinburgh is incredibly popular, and two additional things that you might not pick up as being obvious, but sixth form mentors. We use our year 12s and 13s to look after some of the youngsters in main school who are struggling for various reasons, and they have a genuine role to go and speak to those guys and see how they're doing and advise them and talk to them and look after them. And that is great for the CV, it's great for the sixth former, and it's certainly great for the students who are getting looked after by someone that they highly respect. And the school service is very popular when we're allowed to do it as well, which is that students go out into main school classes and support and teach. It's great if you're heading off into education or sports coaching as part of your future career. It's great for the self-confidence. It's great for subject knowledge enhancement as well, that you go into a year 8 science lesson and help the teacher deliver that lesson. It's a great opportunity and one that plenty of our students like to take. Here are some examples of the students that have taken advantage of our sixth form, just to show how different routes to success can be. And I would remind you that we are a comprehensive, we're very proud of our comprehensive and inclusive approach to students, and the background of all of these guys is very, very different, and their success is very different, but it is all success. Two students that went through our bridge course, for example, Chloe, first of all, wanted to work with children. Her GCSE scores were not great, and she went in the bridge course and did work experience at a local nursery. She was outstanding in practical terms at this nursery. It was everything the nursery wanted, and by October in that first year, she was taken on by them as an apprentice because she had the sense to choose a work placement that was very relevant to her career, and it really paid off for her. We were sad to lose her, but a great success. Sibel was successful by sticking through the whole of the bridge course, doing very, very well in the exams at the end. She got results that allowed her to move into the 2-year A-level course, a year behind where the rest of her year group was, of course. And then she did her A-levels before moving on to university at the end of that. Alice was not great in main school at times, and she struggled with some of the main school rules. But she took advantage of the fresh start that we have in sixth form. That didn't matter once we were convinced she was coming to us with the right attitude, and she excelled. She was very bright, and at the end of 2 years, with an immensely impressive track record in both academic and behaviour through the 2 years, Alice left us to study law, and we were immensely proud of her for that. Patrick had outstanding GCSE results, mostly level 9s, and he went on to Oxford to study science, having achieved A stars in almost all of his subjects. I'm pretty sure it was 4 subjects plus an EPQ. I think it was 3 A stars and a grade A. And he did that at our inclusive and comprehensive sixth form college, an outstanding young man with an academic record that is immensely impressive. Ashley wrote her own timetable. She was very keen to be a farrier, and therefore when she had free time, we organised things for her to go off-site to work with a farrier to build up her skills, to do that very unique career. And at the end of her time with us, having got good A-levels in traditional A-level subjects, Ashley then moved on and is now a successful self-employed farrier. That's a great example of how, if you wish, we can really personalize your timetable in sixth form that maybe it's not easy to do in main school. The free sessions, the free lessons that students get give us that flexibility. And ultimately, new careers start. Amber and Amy did work experience during their time with us. Amber went off to be a midwife, Amy went off to be a vet. And to hear of their success once they've gone is fabulous. And ultimately, the link between the healthcare that Amber did, the biology and chemistry that Amy did, and what they then use it for when they've left us is just great to hear of that success. All of these students are alumni of the school. We've got a developing alumni society, and we use this alumni to come back and support the careers of current students. Amy, for example, was online doing mock interviews for our veterinary students earlier this year, and that was great to have her around. She's just been through the process. She knows what it's like, and it's very valuable to us. There's a range of other reasons why I would sell, if you like, the sixth form college to you, and most of which I've kind of touched on before, so I won't go through it all again. Increasingly, we've got degree apprenticeships as a route to success, and they're all based around strong results. And that ability to personalize your program of study with some work experience is such a powerful part of the journey. In terms of applications, next steps, the option blocks that you've seen, and we'll come back again in this presentation later on, were chosen by this year group. And the computer that set them up minimized the number of students that would not be able to do that based on what was said earlier on. Some subjects, sadly, we're not able to support because the interest wasn't there. There wasn't enough students that wanted to do it. And officially, those option blocks, those subjects are still provisional. If nobody decided to do one of those, or only one person decided to do one of those subjects, we still might pull that later on after the application deadline. That deadline is the 12th of March, and we would hope to get as many of you applying by then as possible. Please take advantage of setting up an individual meeting with me as head of sixth form. There are 2 evenings for that. And if you email me or the admin email, we can make sure we book that in for you. That's just between child, parent and me. It's not a group meeting at all, and we will just talk through your child's application. All students get an interview with me once the application deadline has been met. That might be virtual, it might be real interviews, depends on what the COVID restrictions will be then. And then a student will get a letter that's been posted home. They're either accepted with some conditions, or rejected pending a significant conversation with parents to just clarify subject choice or level of ability or attitude, whatever it may be. We hope, COVID allowing, that in the summer we'll get our bridging day again. That's when the current year 11s, following their exams or whatever the setup is for the summer, they come back and spend a day with us, a taster day in sixth form, which is really successful. I really hope we can do that this summer. How do you make that choice? Well, I raised earlier on some of the key things about your choice, about the subjects you like, the subjects you're good at, etc. Speak to departments. You know the subject department teachers. Drop them an email. Is this subject for me? What does it entail? You can also use the subject videos on the virtual tour that hopefully you've seen already to get that advice, but have that personal conversation. Find out whether that subject is suitable for you from the department teachers that you know. If you know any sixth form students, speak to them. They will tell you absolutely from their experience what it's like to be in our sixth form. You should be choosing 3 or maybe 4 options. You could have a careers appointment that I can set up for you if you wish to help get more advice on this. I would definitely start looking at university courses or potentially apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships courses as to which subjects are important for that. Again, I can help you with that if you wish. Please use one of those meeting slots. Let's have a chat, just you and me, to talk through the options that you've got, and I can give you some advice on that. I'd just like to go back to the some of the competition that we have where students want something new and fresh, so they go to a couple of local competitors. And ultimately, I wouldn't look at that as being new and exciting when actually, as I said in the very first slide, our sixth form is so different, so new, so different to what the students are used to in main school. The relationship with the staff, the rules that are there, the swipe cards that they get to leave the security fence, to go out for their lunch, everything is different, whether it be the iPad that they have, the free lessons, the paninis, which often get voted as the best thing in sixth form. There's a raft of reasons why I wouldn't necessarily feel that you're going to get something better and newer if you go elsewhere. Do have a good look at our sixth form before you make any alternative choice. So that's pretty much it from me in terms of the advice on this PowerPoint. Ultimately, it's an opportunity for you to personalize your learning pathways, to build in work experience, and to make sure you're getting what you want out of the sixth form. It is definitely that new, fresh challenge that students want to have at the end of main school. You don't need to look elsewhere. There's an opportunity right in front of you. There is a raft of additional enrichment opportunities that will support our youngsters' development, not just in the academic, but in confidence, in leadership, in work experience, in charities, in student voice, and a range of different opportunities, as you've seen, that will develop your child, develop you as you go through our sixth form. And of course, it is right on your doorstep. So transport costs and the time you've got to get out of bed are much better than some of our local competitors. There is a range of reasons why you should be looking positively at Thirsk Sixth Form College. Please drop me an email anytime that you wish, and I will get back to you as soon as I can with any questions about this. If you know it's going to be a longer conversation, it's probably best if you take one of those opportunities that I've advertised earlier on to have that meeting and to chat it through. But if it's a quick question, it's probably best done this way. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you.